Welcome to RNG Girls, a podcast on the people, projects and politics of renewable natural gas. I'm Lisa Kitt, founder of RNG Girls and managing director of Dahlia Recruitment. Our podcast aims to bring you the latest insights in the RNG market by sitting down with the key players who are shaping the industry, from operators and developers to investors and policy leaders. Joining me as my co-host is the brilliant Skye. She's the sales director for StarkTech's RNG and compression division and co-vice chair of American Biogas Council. Together, we'll explore what's being built, what's being funded, and what it really takes to deliver projects in the real world. Please stay tuned for our regular episodes, and let's keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in renewable natural gas. Welcome back to the RNG Girls podcast, where we talk about the people, the politics of renewable natural gas. I'm Lisa Kitt. I'm the managing director of Dahlia Recruitment, where I connect the top talent to the biogas industry.
And I'm Skye, co-vice chair of the ABC and sales director with StarkTech, where we engineer and fabricate gas upgrading systems from creation to pipeline. And today we're recording live from Biogas America's Women's Lunch.
So this industry asks a lot of people, and the women in the room keep showing up and pushing things forward.
So today we're talking about what this industry really takes, the grit, the discipline, and the support behind it. Let's keep this tight. Who are you? What do you do? How did you get here? And what's one word that this industry has required from you? Christie?
Hi, I'm Christie Ings, VP of RNG operations at Clean Energy. I'm technical but in training. I'm an engineer, but really enjoy the commercial lens as well. And I think the word that would describe the many chapters needed to go through this industry in Canada and the US would be perseverance.
I'm MacKenzie Bernhard. Hopefully this is still working. I'm a senior technical sales engineer with DTE Energy. I previously worked at the Econ Board, so now I've done some front-end and back-end technology work, which has been awesome. I've only been around the industry for a few years, but I've heard that being in RNG and biogas is in dog years, so I've been doing it my whole life, if that's the case. But I've been really enjoying myself doing it all, and I'm very involved with the ABCYP as well. And one word that I would say is persistence, because you really need to push through on all aspects in order to see success in this space and not give up when things get harder, when things don't always agree and go the way you want it to.
So I'm Cyn French. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I'm one of the co-founders of LF Bioenergy. We're a 5-year-old company. We're dairy to RNG. And it's been a real blessing to be able to be on this stage where you all are. My one word is essential, because in our case, we're in ag and energy. National security that's what we're all about. And my background is really all U.S. ag and dairy politics, former county commissioner in a very rural frontier community. So my whole professional career has been in industries that are very male-dominated. And there's a lot of lessons that I'm still learning today. I just hope that I can pave a path for other women as they're coming up in leadership. It's really a blessing and an opportunity. And we're going to be talking about some of the ways to help you with your leadership and your self-care.
Wow, this is a really talented group. I want to ask you guys a few questions, and let's start here. How has investing in yourself, including your health and your discipline, shaped how you show up?
So, last year, 2025, was really a tough year for a lot of people in this room, right? And the political chaos that's going on just adds to it. So I decided I was going to do 75 hard and live hard. There are 3 phases. It's 135 days. Certain criteria you have to perform every day. And if you don't, then you start from day. So it literally took me. Okay. It literally took me, if I lean back, it literally took me like 2 months to make a decision. Like, am I really going to do this? Because you have to drink a gallon of water a day. And for those of you that travel, you better know how to get on and off the airplane with that much water. You're reading self-improvement books every day. You're taking a 5-minute cold shower, 2 workouts, but one has to be outside. So when you're traveling, that's, you might be doing it at midnight or 5:30 in the morning. And so with all these criteria, it's really about mental strength and discipline. So for me, 2025 was about taking a higher level of mental strength and discipline. That is a leadership strategy, is mental strength and discipline, and how you arrange your life.
What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
So day to day, I'd say there's 3 things. It's intentional, it's about sleep, and it's about self-care. So intentional is, for example, every Sunday night, I'm looking at the week and I'm going, okay, what meetings do I have? What travel do I have? And I'm really being specific. But there are non-negotiables for me that I finally have had the strength and the courage to tell my partners and anybody around me, these are my non-negotiables. And those non-negotiables are, I work out 5 to 7 days a week. It's weightlifting and cardio combined, and I will schedule those in. Intentional about what people, both personally and professionally, do you want in your life, and who is not helping you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. These are leadership strategies. The second piece is sleep. And we all know what happens when we don't get sleep. We're not as clear mentally. We don't have as much patience, and it's harder to interact with people. So I use the Aura Ring to track my sleep very intentionally, and to know if I'm recovering or not. Because typically I'm a 4-hour to 6.5 hour sleep, and I know that I need 8 hours. So I'm still working on that. The third one is really about self-care, and that's about your nutrition, your hydration, your workout, your reflection. So before I go to bed at night, I'm reflecting on a Bible app. When I get up in the morning, I'm reflecting on a Bible app. I also have mental clarity type activities that I do throughout the day. If I need a break, if someone's really stressed me out, man, I go to that, because sometimes you need a mental break. So I would say those 3 things are really important: intentional, sleep, and self-care.
That is some discipline you've got there. It really is.
MacKenzie, you talked about discipline too, but more through like the collegiate sports angle. How's that actually helped you transition in your career?
Yeah, honestly, so I played softball for a few years in college before it eventually actually got cut during the COVID sports cutting thing. But it really shaped who I was as a person, because you have to show up for other people every single day. Like, softball is very much a team sport. You can't play with one person. You have to support everyone around you, and you have to lift those people up as well. You also have to have crazy time management in order to be a college athlete, as I'm sure some other busts in the room were as well, where you're going to wake up at the crack of dawn to go work out and go straight to class and then go straight to a practice and then fit in a study hour. And that's kind of how we are on the road now too. Like, we're all clearly on the road all the time, having to wake up early to catch a meeting or to work out before you then go to the conference all day, to then go to your client dinner, to then meet up with another person for a meeting afterwards. Your time management is essential in order to fit everything into these spaces. So I feel like kind of drilling that down in college really helped me be able to do this, what we're all doing now, on top of all of the travel, which also happened in college sports. But I think really too, having the sense of team, the sense of growth, and being able to work with other people that you might think alike, you might think differently than, was really beneficial as well, because you're not going to see eye to eye with everybody, but you kind of need to be everybody's friend. You need to get along in some capacity in order to achieve the same common goal. So I think that really helped me be the person I am entirely, because I just can't imagine not having a team, being part of a team player, and sticking to the same goal and working towards that.
Now, Christie, I know you had a different take on self-care, and I think it's really important that we not just address physicality and how we show up to take care of our bodies that way.
My approach is definitely more towards like the emotional self-care side. Big proponent of therapy. You got you really got to take care of yourself, and you need to meet yourself, deeper in order to get through those hard times, or you'll be forced to. That's the way I think of it. I think that if you take great pride in your work, I think as women, we're often asked to separate our emotions from our work. And I just don't think it's possible when you care that much. And so I know like Barbara Corcoran from, Shark Tank is like, well, you can do anything, just don't cry at work. Like, good luck. If you if you care about your work, good luck in a career where you're not going to cry a single time. I think that's humanness. That's being genuine. You need to decide what's worth your emotion. And I think that that's where the self-care and therapy and carving out that time for yourself, therapy can look like anything. It could be what you carve out for yourself, the mental break you give yourself, and what you put your body through to work out. It could be, elements of wellness like journaling, meditating, going on a self-care retreat, like whatever that looks like for you. I think you need to do those things, and spirituality too. Maybe it's religion, maybe it's a spiritual backing. I think that it's been the number one thing that has helped me in my career in all aspects is to know me and trust me better.
Thank you so much. Well, as we know, this industry's had a lot of ups and downs. I'll come to you, MacKenzie. What's it got to stay? What do we need to do to stay in it?
I think you really just have to realize that not every day is going to be a good day. And I think we all know that not every year is a good year. We're kind of all backing on each other all the time. You never know who you're going to see next. And I think that really you need to want to play for the next day, do the next thing afterwards, because yeah, right now I feel like we're all kind of facing the same battles where RNG and biogas, we don't really have the best incentives behind us, but we're the people in the room that are going to want to push towards it, right? You can't just get down on yourself and sit there and say like, oh, nothing's worked out in our favor. You want to kind of take the next step forward to make that stride, to be the first person in the room that's saying, advocating for certain things and doing everything you need to do in order to see this industry really strive again. Because we've had the good days and the good days are awesome, but you need to kind of pull back up that ladder and go on that roller coaster to see those come back again. And nothing's ever going to be a plateau. You want to push through those.
Christie, when things feel like that they're slow or uncertain, which is kind of the moment we're in right now, what keeps you moving?
I think we all kind of need that entrepreneurial spirit in us in order to be successful. I think there's not an industry that isn't touched by boom and bust cycles or market cycles. It's just a fact. You can't really avoid it through your whole career. And so, I think being able to look at the lens of company ownership, whether you're part of a consulting group, a vendor group that supplies equipment, whether you're an owner of facilities like RNG facilities, you have to be able to look through the lens of ownership, because the math has to math, right? And that might mean that you need to pivot what you work on during a certain period of time. For example, if there's no greenfield development during a period of time, you might have to look and dig harder into O&M, into service, providing service. And I'm no stranger to that in the Canadian market where I started before things really took off in the US RNG market. We went through our own booms and busts, and dairymen and food waste industry typically owned those projects. They were very private projects. They weren't corporate owned. Those parties were very disciplined with how they spent money, right? It was like their home economics. The math had to math. And So we needed to dig deep and find ways to support those clients. When I spent time at Plan ET, which was a German company that operated in Canada, we had more than 20 facilities, all throughout the province of Ontario. And we had to find ways when new developments stopped because the Canadian government canceled feed-in tariff programs, which was a way to get paid for your bioelectricity you generated from biogas. We had to find ways to be inventive to keep the lights on. It's just what it is. Our team was thin. We went to wastewater treatment plants and offered effectively reliability studies, sparing plan studies. But we were an EPC primarily. We provided equipment, engineering, and construction to these projects. And yeah, you just got to dig deep to get through those kind of low times. But we've seen the cycle come all the way back around in the US, and we're a bit low right now, but there's a lot of other opportunity on the horizon. So I think, dig deep, make your way through this, and we'll all be all right.
How have you communicated your style in a male environment? Cyn, you're laughing. You answer that one.
Okay, so let's get real. It's different communicating in a male industry because we have so many things noodling around in our head, right? We have a lot of strategy. We have a lot of details. We have a lot to say. And a lot of times we don't get to say it. So we have to figure out how to get that out. So I'm going to use this analogy. So my weightlifting glove, when I'm communicating as a weightlifter, it's grip it, rip it. It's got to be done Friday, 3:00, right? That's one strategy. When I'm golfing, I'm on the back nine of strategy. It's like, okay, you guys, what's the strategy for this hole over here? Like, okay, is the ball going to roll to the right or the left? And what about that dog leg? And if the ball lands up on the green, is it going to run fast or is it going to run slow? And so it's the same brain, two different gloves and different languages. So when I'm lifting weights as a female, the reason I like to get in there with all the big guys in there, because it is intimidating for me, but it's good eye candy, right? I'm sorry. She laughed. She liked that. But you notice how weightlifters, how they walk through the room, they spread out, they take a lot of space, right? And a lot of times as females, when we're communicating, we hunker in, when in fact, we should be spreading out and showing what our power and our strength is. And so that's why I do like to get and be around weightlifters, even though it's good eye candy, but it is intimidating.
So I've found that being human, not just polished, is often what actually builds trust and influence. Christie, how have you balanced showing up on the human side of things without worrying about being perceived as less credible?
Yeah, I think that we have a pretty tough hand that we're dealt as women, especially in leadership, because leadership often demands that we show up with some aggression, right? We need to drive things forward. We need to make things happen. And I think there have been times where women have been asked to forego their softer side, in an effort to present like a male. I don't think we need to do that. And one of the things that really helped me was I just took this simple online course from Cornell called Women in Leadership. I really suggest it for everybody. It talks about the chameleon approach, and it's allowing both of those sides to show up, the vulnerability and the softness, as well as the aggression and, kind of the sternness that you need to have to lead. And so I think that allowing both of those things to coexist is possible. And I don't think resisting one or the other is necessarily the right path.
I mean, communication's like the anchor to support and trust at the moment, I think. So what does it really mean to have somebody's back?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's how you talk about people when they're not in the room, right? Because no one likes those young, insecure girls that will talk badly about the person next to them just to make themselves look better, because inevitably they don't look better, right? You're just putting somebody else down for your own internal benefit, but you're not really winning anything. So I think being able to talk about other people when they're not in the room positively and with open arms and lifting them up is only going to lift you up as well, even if they're your competitor, even if you might not really like them. But I think you need to talk highly about everybody else because it's only going to empower you as well. So no one wants to be the insecure middle school girl that's shooting everyone down.
So, what have you found is the difference between real and performative support? Because there's definitely a distinct difference.
And I think it's on just being genuine. If you're going to be phony and be fake and walk into the room and be getting excited all the time, even when you're having a bad day, I don't think that that's really portraying what's going on. Being able to have these honest conversations, kind of what we came here for and what we're all trying to do now to like lift each other up, is really what's going to actually make everyone feel better and lift them up. So being honest, being real, being genuine, I think is really how you convey a message that's actually going to be perceived well without being phony and being the little valley girl that's like, oh, this is so great. This is so good. You guys doing well too? No, like everyone's got something going on, but you need to make sure that everyone else is being talked about that way as well. Because you want to be the one that's talked about well when you're not in the room too, for like on your character and your strengths and things like that. So cliche as it is, treat people how you want to be treated and lift everyone else up around you. And that's only going to make you grow as well.
Can you share a moment where someone showed up for you and it really mattered?
Actually, I would say that the 3 business partners that I've had 5 years ago when we started LF Bioenergy, I didn't know them. They were from energy and oil and gas, and I was from U.S. ag and dairy. And we were both recommended to each other. And so when we got in a room and we started talking about the idea of dairy RNG, it's like they were so open to what I had to say about why this is important. And I really felt like at that moment, they were so genuine and they were so passionate about their purpose that it matched up with my purpose. And so at that point, my purpose, you guys, is advocating for U.S. farmers and ranchers. That's what I've always done. And so how we showed up together was we just started supporting each other and really talking about it, but we had some common language I think was really helpful.
Christie, talking about being a woman in this industry, what's the hardest part about being female that people don't see?
I've been really intentional about who I work for in this industry. And so I'm really fortunate to say that, I've been heard similar to you, Cyn. I feel that in the company I'm in, my voice is respected and I do feel heard by my male colleagues. There's been times in my career where that's not the case. And it's been really hard to just make the call to leave. Because, like I said, if you're really prideful in your work and you're so determined to see a project through or, the work you're doing through, but the culture is bad or the environment is bad for you on a personal level, especially as a female, it's really hard to choose to give up if you're not a quitter. And sometimes you got to know when to give up. Sometimes the environment is not for you, the culture is not for you. And so being able to call it when I needed to has been like the biggest blessing to me in my career. Even if it's a blip on your resume that you don't want, it's better to take the loss then and move on. And I think, since I've had to make hard decisions like that, and been very intentional about who I work for and the support that they give me as a technical female, I haven't had to deal with as many issues. So I would suggest cutting your losses when you need to, if you need to.
And when does imposter syndrome show up?
I think I see it a lot just being young and a female in this industry, because we all see it that most of this industry is older men. And a lot of them will just look at me as like, oh, their daughter, like, oh, my kids are around your age. Like, that's so cute of you. And I'm like, okay, no, we're business partners in this. I'm going to hold my own. I'm going to stand my ground on what I know. I'll admit it when I don't know things. But I think sitting there and being like, oh, I actually am your equal in this situation, even though you might look at me as your daughter, I think was really actually empowering and kind of pushes some of that imposter syndrome away, because we all are sitting at the same table. We're all in the same room doing the same things, even though, yes, I could be your daughter. I might not have as much past experience as you, but I'm willing to absorb it all and figure out where you can go from there.
Why do you think it's that men tend to move towards opportunity faster while women tend to hesitate about taking that next step in their career?
We have a lot going on, a lot of spaces that we're dealing with as women, husband, partner, mom, dad, or, your family, your kids. And we're also dealing with a profession that is really tough. This is not an easy profession, energy. Ag isn't easy, but energy is really not easy because it is, I think, that much more male-centered. And why I want to help us as an industry so that whether you're male or female, when you show up, that you're being listened to. Because I think it's really a shame if you show up and you have to dumb yourself down. My example, real quick, is a huge bodybuilder that I was helping from a fitness and a branding perspective. He does a lot of stunt work, works with The Rock, works with Ben Affleck, etc. Huge guy. And I said, Derek, why don't you play the Hulk like you're an actor? He goes, Cyn, I'm so big. When I show up on the movie screen, I have to dumb myself down. And I have thought about that for a couple of years now. And there are times that I feel the same. Like when I walk into a room, I have to dumb myself down. I don't want anybody to have to dumb themselves down. Like we have such talent and strength, and we have such need to show leadership today more than ever before in this industry to get things moving again. We need to be helping the U.S. and telling them how to make this industry move forward. So please do not dumb yourself down. We need your brilliance and your experience.
What's one moment where you realized that you were actually stronger than you thought?
The one moment that I realized that I was strong, it really goes back to 75 hard, you guys, because 2025 was a tough year. And I really needed to get into a much deeper level of discipline so that I could show up and not be silent. Like today, this leadership, because of the physical strength, the mental strength, and really, what you were talking about earlier about emotional strength. I have a business coach, and there are times that I need a tune-up, but he's a person that I truly trust because we are faith-based. He knows business, and he just gets what's going on. So he has helped me to be stronger and not to shrink. But it all started with back to that physical. For me, it's that physical strength is what I need. And that's 75 hard.
We're going to do a little rapid fire, something we do towards the end of every podcast, where we ask some quick questions and we look for really short responses. So I'm going to start it with Cyn. One word for this industry.
Essential.
Christine, what's the biggest misconception about women in biogas?
I think there's a misconception that most of the women in biogas are like technical, but there's all kinds of boss ladies around us on the commercial side, on the executive level. And I'm really proud to be amongst them, amongst all of you.
And MacKenzie, what's one habit that changed your trajectory?
I think saying yes to every opportunity that's presented to you. I think one of the biggest things that changed my entire experience in biogas was starting up the YP committee a couple years ago and meeting all the people through that and just saying yes to every opportunity that comes your way.
Cyn, grit or talent?
Grit, because talent gets you in the room, but grit keeps you in the room.
Yeah, perfect. I think, Christie, you just mentioned, like, touched on something really important. Like, I've got a recruitment company, and, you know, we're trying to grow this industry as much as we possibly can. And it's not just about women that are technical, it's about HR, comms. And the more that we can educate people to come into it, the better. So thank you for sharing that. So this is just, a basic reminder to say it's about resilience, discipline, and support.
There's absolutely space for more women to step in and lead. So thank you to our guests and everyone here today.